Former San Francisco 49ers star Aldon Smith, one of the most dominant pass rushers of his generation, tragically passed away on June 13, 2026, at 36. While the circumstances surrounding his death remain unclear, with no official cause released, new testimonies and emotional reactions from those who knew him have reignited the conversation about the man behind the headlines. As the football community mourns his loss, several former teammates have broken their silence, determined to set the record straight about Smith's legacy. Their words paint a far more complex picture, shocking fans across the football world and changing how we remember the former All-Pro. The elite defensive end Aldon Smith passed on Saturday in the Bay Area at 36. No warning, no illness, just gone. And the moment the news broke, hitting the gridiron like a freight train. Subscribe as we analyze this sudden, heartbroken reactions from players and fans. Leave a like if you remember his greatness, sharing your favorite memories of the former star. We weren't just mourning a football player. We were mourning what felt like unfinished business. A man who had, by all accounts, finally started putting his life together. The 49ers confirmed the news in a statement released late Saturday night, saying they are devastated by the sudden and tragic passing of Aldon Smith. That word devastated was not public relations speak, it was real. This franchise had watched him arrive as the ultimate dream of a pass rusher, and now watched him leave this world at 36 without explanation. In their statement, San Francisco said that Aldon's undeniable talent and sheer dominance on the field were on display from the moment he joined, having recorded one of the best rookie seasons the league has ever seen. They went further, saying that beyond his excellence as a player, Aldon will be remembered for his infectious smile that lit up every room. That is the kind of detail that sticks, not the sack record, the smile. Soon after, Las Vegas also mourned his death, putting out their own statement. And that says something profound, because his time in Oakland was chaotic and painful, yet they still felt the loss enough to speak out publicly. 3 franchises, 3 fan bases, 1 sudden absence. Hit like to support as San Francisco posted their tribute online, and the response from the football community was immediate, with voices saying they were beyond gutted to hear the news. Longtime beat reporter Nick Wagoner, who followed Smith's career from college to the pros, was among the first out. He wrote that as a Missouri alum, no player was more fun to watch in black and gold than Aldon. Yet somehow, as dominant as he was as a Tiger, he was even better when he hit the league with San Francisco. He closed with a prayer for his family. Analyst Marcus Mosher, who watched Smith's career closely, put it simply with zero cushion. He wrote that Smith was exceptional for the Cowboys in 2020, despite being out of football for years, before they signed him, writing that he loved watching him. An awesome player, a truly sad loss. One fan account was even more direct. We lost a legend today, in former 49ers edge Aldon Smith. No hedging, no asterisks, just a legend. Journalist Jacob Infante, who spoke with Smith in 2024, said he seemed to be in a great place and was mentoring rookies on their transition to the pros. That detail hits differently because his last chapter of life was not chaos. It was purpose. Though he battled off-field issues throughout in his career, many shared how he became a mentor for young players recently. That is what made Saturday so gut-wrenching. This was not the story of a man in freefall. This was a man who climbed back up and was gone anyway. To understand why this grief hit so hard, we must understand what he was. Not just the stats or draft slot. You and I have to understand what it felt like to watch Aldon Smith play at full speed. There was nothing else quite like it. Drafted 7th overall by San Francisco in 2011 out of Missouri, the linebacker quickly emerged as one of football's most feared edge rushers. His pro comparison out of college was DeMarcus Ware. He was highly touted and directly compared to Ware coming out of college. That is not a casual comparison. That is a Hall of Fame name thrown at a rookie before his first professional snap. San Francisco pulled the trigger at pick 7. And within weeks of his first training camp, we all knew they had not made a mistake. As a rookie, Smith exploded on the scene with 14 sacks and 27 quarterback hits, on his way to finishing second in Defensive Rookie of the Year voting. 14 sacks as a rookie. Let that sink in. Most veteran edge rushers never hit 14 in a season. Aldon did it in year 1, fresh off a college campus. still learning NFL offensive schemes, still adjusting to the lightning speed of the pros. Those 14 sacks stood as the second most ever by an NFL rookie. The 7th pick in 2011, Smith racked up 33.5 sacks in his first 32 games. 33.5 in 32 games. That is basically a sack per game across 2 full seasons. A pace we have never seen matched in league history. He recorded the most sacks of any player in their first 2 NFL seasons. Not just for a linebacker. Not just for a rookie. The most of anyone in the entire league, period. Then came 2012, his sophomore season, when he went from promising to absolutely unstoppable on the field. He posted 19.5 sacks and 29 quarterback hits to earn Pro Bowl and All-Pro honors. Those 19.5 sacks still stand as the 49ers franchise record for a single season. A franchise that has been around since 1946. Through Joe Montana, through Jerry Rice, through Patrick Willis and Ronnie Lott, no player in 49ers history has ever reached a single season total that even touches what Aldon Smith did in 2012. That record still belongs to him today. He started Super Bowl 47 with San Francisco that very season, going to the biggest game in football and performing on the grandest stage, all before turning 24. Those 49ers boasted one of the most feared defenses in the league, and leading that charge was this 23-year-old from Missouri, possessing a quickness that offensive tackles simply could not handle. To put it plainly, many in the media believed his name was destined for Canton, Ohio, the home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And that was not empty hype. It was a realistic assessment of his trajectory. If you mapped his career arc at age 23, the Hall of Fame was the obvious path. His stats were not just great, they were historic, they were unprecedented, they were the kind of numbers that get your jersey retired and your bust bronzed, hit like to show your respect. News of Smith's sudden passing has shocked 49ers fans, who remember his dominant peak and the massive role he played in one of the franchise's most successful eras of the 21st century. Make sure to subscribe. That Jim Harbaugh era, those title games, that intense Super Bowl run stands as one of the legendary runs in modern NFL history. And Aldon Smith was right there in the middle of it, chasing quarterbacks like they owed him money. But here is where our story shifts, because that same force that made him so explosive, that edge, that relentless fire seemed to be burning out of control in his personal life too. Smith's meteoric rise to NFL stardom was derailed by a series of off-field issues. 10 arrests in 9 years. That number simply does not align with 19.5 sacks, Pro Bowls, and Super Bowl starts. Yet, there it is, a dark shadow running parallel to every highlight reel. It began in 2012, the very season he was shattering the franchise sack record. That included an arrest on suspicion of driving under the influence in Miami in 2012. Then another in San Jose in 2013, where he crashed into a tree. He was at the absolute peak of his game on Sundays, and simultaneously coming apart at the seams on weekdays. He also missed 5 games in 2013 after voluntarily entering a rehab facility. So, even back then, in the midst of the chaos, there were moments where he reached for help, trying to get out from under it. That rehab stint showed us a man who was not oblivious to what was happening. He knew. He just couldn't hold on to the solution. Then came 2014. Smith was handed a 9-game suspension by the league for violating the league's personal conduct and substance abuse policies. 9 games gone, just like that. A third of a season vanished, not from an injury, not from a trade, but due to decisions made far away from the football field. Though charges were not filed, that incident sent a chill through the league because we saw it wasn't just a pattern of arrests anymore. It was getting far more unpredictable, erratic, and dangerous, not just to himself, but to those around him. On the 49ers' first off day of training camp, that was the one the franchise could not come back from. The front office decided enough was enough, releasing Smith after his 5th arrest in 3 years. They had stuck by him through the rehab, the suspensions, and even that airport incident. But there is a wall every franchise eventually hits, and they reach theirs. In their statement, the 49ers put out a statement. This organization has tried very hard to help Aldon fight his issues. Although he is no longer a member of this team, our support and concern for him will continue. As commentators, we could hear the sheer exhaustion in those words, but also real care. Make sure to hit subscribe. Meanwhile, Smith signed with the Raiders in September 2015, but the league suspended him for a year that November for another substance abuse violation. Honestly, one of the wildest storylines from that suspension had nothing to do with Smith directly itself. It was about Raiders head coach Jack Del Rio publicly battling a controversial league rule. Del Rio became an outspoken critic of the NFL policy that banned teams from having direct contact with suspended athletes. Del Rio was trying to help his player, but the league firmly said no way. Oakland wanted to mentor him through his struggles, but the system refused. Amid multiple suspensions that kept him out of football from 2016 to 2019 for entire years, the gridiron moved on. New pass rushers emerged. Records he was destined to shatter got frozen in time, while Smith was left outside the league, facing his demon. He lost 4 crucial years in the absolute prime of what should have been a guaranteed gold jacket career. Then, the defender was conditionally reinstated in May 2020. After 4 long years in exile, the Dallas Cowboys made a shocking move. They took a massive gamble, signing a former star who had not played a single snap of professional football since 2015. Most fans thought his career was over, but Dallas disagreed. Let us analyze what happened next together. What followed was one of the most stunning stories in recent football history. He suited up again in 2020 and played out of his mind, earning serious comeback player of the year consideration with 5 sacks for Dallas. Think about that. 5 sacks after a 4-year layoff. After all the legal issues, suspensions, and watching his entire career dissolve in slow motion, he returned and produced. At nearly 31 years old, he was terrorizing quarterbacks again. Critics who wrote him off were forced to rewrite their assessments. Subscribe to get more wild NFL stories. After his stints with Oakland and Dallas, the pass rusher attempted to carve out another run in the league in 2020. That season marked his final professional snaps, leaving you and I in awe of his remarkable comeback story. Those 5 sacks in Dallas proved his talent. From a commentator standpoint, this level of comeback is extremely rare. A player vanishes for half a decade, returns, and immediately puts up major statistics at the absolute highest level of sport. It proved that despite his personal struggles, his elite physical talent remained intact. He tried one final run with the Seattle Seahawks in 2021, but legal trouble struck once again in Louisiana. After a battery arrest, Seattle management cut ties with him before the 2021 regular season even started. The Seahawks waived the former star pass rusher, and that marked the final whistle on his career. That 5-sack season in Dallas was his final gridiron chapter, but a remarkable transition began off the field, something genuinely inspiring. After hanging up his cleats, the former star began mentoring NFL rookies for several franchises, including the Las Vegas Raiders and the Jacksonville Jaguars. He returned to the league, not chasing another paycheck, but as a guide for young athletes trying to survive the same temptations that nearly ruined his life. His name still triggers major debate. If you speak to one fan, they will point to his 19.5-sack season and shake their head at his absolute brilliance. But show his mugshots to another fan, and they will react with disappointment. Yet, his work guiding rookies in 2024 represents a completely different, inspiring legacy. During an appearance on Keyshawn Johnson's podcast in June 2024, Smith shared that he hoped his tough journey could serve as a valuable warning for rookies entering the league. Johnson, a former first-round pick who lived under those same bright lights, gladly gave him a powerful platform. And Smith did not use it to make excuses, saying, "I am incredibly grateful for my journey so far because of where I am right now." That is not the mindset of a broken man. That represents true growth. Finding gratitude despite 10 arrests, 4 lost prime years, and a stellar career cut incredibly short is quite remarkable. That is the voice of an athlete who did the hard work, faced his past, and finally found peace. His reflections resonate deeply today. Former Missouri teammates, 49ers faithful, and colleagues across the league shared heartfelt tributes, celebrating both his absolute dominance on the turf and the warm personality he shared off the field. That duality is why his story hurts. It was never a perfect story, and nobody is pretending otherwise. But behind the stats was a deeply human story, and we all knew it. Fans and reporters remembered those Niners years. They constantly reminded us of the milestones. 2012 NFC champion, All-Pro, and Pro Bowler. He dominated with 19.5 sacks. A franchise record. Those stats put him in elite company. In 49ers history, his peak was legendary. One fan wrote that 2011 Aldon Smith was the absolute best. An all-time great. No qualifiers, no asterisks. Hit like if you agree. because they are not wrong. The stats back it up. That blistering, historic pace backs it up. A franchise record still standing strong, a decade later proves it. Reporter Jacob Infante, who spoke with Smith in 2024, said he was doing great, mentoring young NFL rookies as they adjusted to the pros. That was the real Aldon people saw. Those closest to him saw a rebuilt man, not the athlete from the old headlines. He had truly transformed, finding purpose in helping the next generation of players avoid the very same mistakes. Many of us knew his name was destined for Canton, Ohio, home of the Hall of Fame, and that is not a stretch. To see why, you and I just need to review his first 3 seasons. 33.5 sacks in 32 games. A 49ers franchise sack record that belongs to him alone. A Super Bowl start, a Pro Bowl, and All-Pro honors. All before age 24. No one else started like that. That was a historic run. The gridiron community is absolutely devastated, reflecting on his massive role in their dominant era. He defined the team's 21st century peak. Subscribe now as we look back at those fearsome Jim Harbaugh years. Back when the 49ers were the most feared defense in the league, Aldon was the absolute engine of that unit. That near dynasty simply does not exist without him. Details surrounding his tragic passing have not yet been released. The team reported only that it was sudden and heartbreaking. He was just 36, right there in the Bay Area, lost on a Saturday afternoon with no public explanation. He leaves behind family members who are grieving in private. They have not yet made a statement. The 49ers organization plans to honor his legacy in the coming weeks. The sadness pouring out of the league has a very heavy, distinct feel to it. It is not just ordinary grief. This is not just a lament for a career cut short. It is a deeper sorrow. It is about the complete picture. The sheer, limitless talent and the dark years dominated by personal struggles. We remember his battles with addiction, his quiet comeback with the Cowboys, and his transformation into a dedicated mentor. That is an incredible journey packed into 36 years. Gone in an instant on Saturday. His story was never simple. It was an epic. Anyone who watched him fly off the edge to terrorize a quarterback knew his unique greatness. That freakish first step, that explosive burst, that electric smile, the tributes we see today do not hold back. They did not hedge. They spoke the truth. He was one of the absolute greatest, smaller without him. Rest in peace.